Let's talk about a hair loss video that was easy to watch and kind of forget about. But really, when you think about it, it's a very important video in my canon of over 1,800 videos on hair loss. I'm not making that number up, by the way. It shows me on my screen like, this is video number 1,852. All right. I made a video called Stop Breeding Baldness If You Are Truly Bothered by Hair Loss. Pretty simple. If it really bothers you that much, if it's that much of an attack on your identity, and you feel that you're going to be limited in your life because of your hair loss, if you truly feel that strongly, then what would you do? When you get married, assuming that one day you will not marry a girl who has any signs of balding in her family at all. You'd have to check out her dad, her brothers, all of that, and make sure none of them went bald before you could even consider marrying her. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. If you think it's so bad, but yet then you'd still end up having kids that are going to have that gene, and of course they're still going to have your DNA, but you're at least increasing the chances that your sons wouldn't have that gene, and even that your daughters wouldn't have that gene, that they could pass it on to their sons. If you really cared so much about hating, just kind of like on a similar note, I have people weekly, they'll email me. They say, Nick, I've been struggling with psoriasis just like you had for all those years, and sinus problems, and I'm so desperate. The doctors can't help me. I'd do anything. And I'd say, just do what I did, become a vegan. I've been a vegan for almost 5 years. It got rid of all my diastrodrotic eczema, my sinus. I'm not allergic to animals anymore. And then they say, oh, but I can never do that. I think it's one of those things there. People say they're desperate. They do anything. But I think in theory, even if you couldn't save yourself from losing your hair, if you really feel that strongly that men with hair loss are that worse off in society, if you truly felt that way, you'd be careful about who you marry and have kids with. You would be very strict, making sure that none of the men suffer hair loss. Now, to add icing on the cake, I have someone who left a comment, maybe perhaps even Jewish. The name sounds Jewish. Hillel Luhem. And maybe he's Irish for all I know. But apparently my grandfather was Jewish, and if I can feel that I'm this guy's cousin, it makes me feel cool about myself. I don't know. All right, here we go. This was his comment on Stop Breeding Baldness If You Were Truly Bothered by Hair Loss. Quote, cool. I hate men's hair loss, but my girlfriend's dad is bald. I don't think I'm a hypocrite. I think it's just human nature to be a little bit selfish, because it's not going to affect you, but until it affects your sons, you love that girl, so you marry her anyway, end quote. And that's exactly the kind of comment I wanted to get. I wanted someone to be so rational, that's not a word, is it? I wanted someone to be so rational and honest at the same time. This is exactly what I wanted, so thank you for leaving that comment. The two main things to point out is, part of you says, well, at least that's not me, it's not my problem. It may be my son's problem, but it won't be my problem. And there's some selfishness in that. Because again, if you really cared so much about it affecting you, you wouldn't do that to your own son. If you really felt that strongly, if you really hated men's hair loss that badly, if you were truly as obsessed as some might think you are, that you think you are, if you really think that bald men are that ugly, you wouldn't help produce another one, if you really felt that way. But all that is wiped away when this is said, but you love that girl, so you will marry her anyway. That's really what it comes down to. Now, what's the M. Night Shyamalan twist in this video? Okay, that as a man who might be experiencing hair loss at a younger age, and you'd say, I don't like it, but yeah, if I fell in love with this girl, I wouldn't care if our sons were bald when they became adults. What if she feels that way about you? What if a girl meets you, you're age 23, and you're pushing Norwood 4, you've got some noticeable thinning going on too, and she thinks, you know what, I like this guy. He seems really sincere. He's got a future going on for himself. He treats me with a lot of respect. He's funny. You know, he's got a certain skill set that I can tell he's got a future going on. He'd be good at taking care of me. I just haven't met a guy like that before. I like this guy a lot. That's the end of that conversation. That's the end of that thought. Then her girlfriend walks up. Her very annoying girlfriend walks up. He says, yeah, but look at him. He's kind of going bald. He's only 23. I mean, do you really want to have like bald babies with this guy? Like marry this bald guy? Just imagine if he looks this way now, imagine when he's 30, 40. He's going to be so bald. And you know what she'd say? She'd say, are you serious right now? I can't believe you're saying that. He's such a good man. Everybody, you can tell he's different than most guys in a good way. I'm lucky to have that guy. I don't care if we have bald sons. Who cares? If they're anything like him and the way he treats me, then I am actually getting quite a prize right here. I love this guy. I don't care about his hair. Uh-oh, was there a connection just then? Was there a connection between if you really loved a girl, you'd marry her even if she'd produce you bald sons? Could there be a connection that women think so differently than men that they notice all these other things about us first? And then if anyone even tried to bring that up, they would quickly defend it because there's such a lack of men who are motivated and respectful and funny and skilled and have a future. See, that's the thing. Men like that stand out. It's how I got my wife. It's one of the ways I got my wife. I didn't need hair. I had those things going on for me. And my mother-in-law told me this a couple years ago. She said, when my wife Jill met me, that my wife, my now wife of nearly 10 years, called her mom and said, I have never felt about any guy the way I feel about Nick. And my mother-in-law, my now mother-in-law of nearly 10 years, says, I agree. You've never been caught up with a guy like you have with Nick. I have to agree with you. And it's easy to say, but Nick, in that story, you're not bald. That's irrelevant. That's not how girls see guys. They judge us on such a different criteria. But yet we want to keep putting the focus back on this. And I say, ultimately, if you really care that much about your hair loss, then do yourself a favor and marry a girl who has no bald relatives in her family at all. At all. I mean, and you got to be careful too. I need you to go visit her family, meet her dad, meet her brothers, look at all the photos on the wall, then stalk her on Facebook, look at all of her cousins, make sure none of them go bald, because that bald gene could be hiding in there somewhere. And you, because you care so much about hair loss and you hate it so badly that you don't want your own sons to experience that one day, that you make sure that those sons are never born. You never allowed those sons to be born because you hate baldness that much. Now, this sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Because it is, and we all know that. We all know that not one person watching this video hates their own hair loss so badly that they would meet the love of their life and say, nah, because our kids might be bald. This is such a ridiculous concept, but I think it needed to be said out loud just to remind us, to remind ourselves, we spend time of our day thinking about hair loss when the rest of the world doesn't. What are we missing out on? I say we. I'm your host. I'm putting myself in your situation. I've been cured of this long ago, and my level of confidence confuses some. Oh, well, Nick, you can't be that confident. Because even on a worse day when I've been wearing a hat and I've got rosemary oil in here because I'm about to go to bed, and it looks even worse than it really is. Nick, come on. You look awful. You need to get a hair transplant. No, I don't. Because I don't put that kind of value on hair loss. I put value on being a person that people respect and want to be around and respects themselves enough to not put so much focus on something so superficial and natural. That's who I am. Now you can join me. And you don't have to sound like the psychotic, desperate person that I just talked about in the video who would only marry someone who wouldn't produce bald sons.